FIGU, Landesgruppe, Australia, Bulletin number 25. On February 2021, Thoughts about Arrogance. One of the many brochures FIGU has published is titled, About Reading and Studying Billy's publication, which was written by Atlant Bieri after an interview with Billy. In that brochure, Atlant explains how important it is not to simply read Billy's publications, memorize them and then regurgitate the content when needed, as is often done at school with the subject studied there in preparation for an exam. There is a difference between, on one hand, merely reading a text and memorizing it and, on the other hand, studying it thoroughly and then verifying or rejecting that which has been communicated through the text by means of one's own understanding and experiences. Atlant explains that, the reading of a text is therefore a silent communication of ideas captured on paper. For example, tree is an idea. But the sequence of the letters TREE itself has nothing to do with the plant. They are freely invented signs, which are placed one after the other in a freely invented sequence. The idea tree, which results from the sequence of characters, is linked to an object in reality, namely an elongated, multi-branched structure covered with leaves. This definition is of course not absolute. For someone else, the idea tree is the thing in the living room that went up in flames last Christmas. So when arrogance was suggested as a topic for a bulletin, the challenge began to not just find quotes in one of Billy's many texts, but to really study the term arrogance. As Atlant suggested in his brochure, in order to be able to grasp Billy's texts even only on the surface, the reader must once again accept reading as a scientific activity. In a first step, one must muster the modesty to accept one's own mother tongue as a foreign language. What does deference mean and where does the word sanctimoniousness come from? Knowing exactly what the words mean in one's own language is the first duty for the readers of Billy's texts. There is no shame in always having a good dictionary within easy reach. So how does the dictionary explain arrogance? Lexico.com defines arrogance as the quality of being arrogant, which in turn means having or revealing an exaggerated sense of one's own importance or abilities. That raises the question, where does a healthy sense of one's own importance or abilities, which might be useful in life, end and where does arrogance begin? Pondering a term like that should lead to self-reflection on one's own experiences, which helps to really understand a term and not just know it intellectually. In the book, Goblet of the Truth, Chapter 19, arrogance is explained as follows.
34. Arrogant, vain, are those who connect themselves to overbearingness and are also conceited, presumptuous, and thereby take the honor from the truth and disdain people of their kind, fellow human beings.
Therefore an arrogant person is overbearing, which means unpleasantly overpowering, and also conceited, which means excessively proud of himself, herself and her achievements. Thus she takes the honor from the truth, which I understand as not having high respect or esteem for the truth. And according to the above quote, he or she has the feeling that her fellow human beings are unworthy of her consideration or respect.
35. Arrogance, vanity, is also haughtiness and pride, hubris/craving for recognition/imperiousness, from which also originate false zeal, ambition, and hypocrisy as well as sanctimoniousness. But arrogance, vanity, can be overcome through being fair, being responsibility conscious, and righteousness, conscientiousness, in which case the love for the truth gives the power to achieve this.
According to Lexico.com, haughtiness means the appearance or quality of being arrogantly superior and disdainful. Being disdainful means showing contempt or lack of respect. According to the above quote from the Goblet of the Truth, haughtiness and disdainfulness can lead to false zeal or ambition, which means that even though ambition is not necessarily a bad thing, because it has a strong desire to do or achieve something, if this desire is coupled with a lack of respect for others, it may well be considered arrogant. As is stated in the above quote, false zeal, ambition can lead to hypocrisy and sanctimoniousness.
Hypocrisy means the practice of claiming to have higher standards or more noble beliefs than is the case, and sanctimoniousness means making a show of sanctity, affecting an appearance of holiness. Therefore, if a person is arrogant, he or she may display some or all of the above-mentioned things. However, if he or she does not want to be arrogant or appear to be arrogant, then he or she can overcome it through being fair, being responsibility conscious, and it means that one is impartial and honest, free from exaggerated self-interest, prejudice and favoritism. Thus these are the things one has to develop or expand on when not wanting to be arrogant. Additionally, the one wanting to rid himself, herself from arrogance should become conscientious and also work on developing a love for the truth, which will give him, her the power to achieve those culmination points. In the book Goblet of the Truth there are a few more references to arrogance. Chapter 3.
103. Know about the truth of the creation, and about the teaching of the truth as has been revealed since time immemorial up to the present day by the prophets and as was revealed to your forefathers and their forefathers and to all the people. And know that since time immemorial the prophets have not differentiated between those whom they have instructed, taught. Therefore they did not display any conceit, arrogance/haughtiness/boastfulness, or any hatred against believers in gods and their priests and servants, and therefore neither against any other skin color or kinds, races. And therefore the prophets never demanded that those whom they were instructing in the truth teaching shall have to submit themselves to the teaching, because turning to it always has been and always will be a matter of one's own freedom. So true prophets do not display any conceit, arrogance, haughtiness or boastfulness, but treat every human being the same, fairly, regardless of their belief or skin color. Therefore if a person displays arrogance and haughtiness and boastfully claims to be a prophet, or if a person does not treat other human beings the same because of their belief or skin color, then we can be quite certain that this person is not a true prophet.
Goblet of the Truth, Chapter 11.
21. Do not be vain, arrogant, in what you do, because vanity, arrogance, is of not end of all kinds of evil, through which a loss in the esteem held by people of your kind, fellow human beings, comes about.
In other words, if someone behaves in an arrogant form as described earlier, he or she will not be esteemed by her fellow human beings. If he or she wants to be esteemed by other human beings, he or she would be wise to work on being fair and righteous and developing a love for the truth. Goblet of the Truth, Chapter 28.
505. Do not remain desperately poor in your truth knowledge and do not think that the material knowledge alone is sufficient to further the evolution of your consciousness. Because if you think in this wise, then you are unworthy of the life and are king and emperor of your own inner darkness and unknowledge. So you childishly wield a scepter of the dalliance and illusion and put on a crown of the arrogance and vanity and therewith prove your lack of intelligence.
Strong words of encouragement to study the truth. So according to the Goblet of the Truth, if a person does not study the truth and only thinks about her material wealth, then he or she is unworthy of life, feeds her inner darkness and unknowledge, and is like a child with illusions and crowns of arrogance on her head and proves her low intelligentum. Who would like to go down that path, knowing and learning the following from the book, might of the thoughts early and practicing it from a young age, could help.
Just as one must practice manual things until one has mastered them, one must also stimulate and educate one's consciousness into thinking. This requires persistent practice, for which reason one should teach children how to think consciously so that they do not blindly act only according to prevailing ideas, rather they learn to first contemplate everything, and only then act. Much would actually be better on our planet if every human being were to master this principle and use it. Page 25. Learning how to think consciously and contemplating one's thoughts and feelings could certainly help reducing instances where one is arrogant, and that would help this person on his her evolutionary path to becoming a better person. But if one keeps acting on a habitual impulse of haughtiness or disdainfulness, then getting rid of arrogance would be harder.
And another way to help weed out flaws like arrogance from one's personality is being attentive to one's own thoughts, words and deeds during the day and reflecting on them with the intention to let go of the behavior that would support a vice like that. 1. Recommendation comes from the book, The Way to Live, page 6.
9. A true human being assesses himself, or self daily according to at least 3 questions and answers, which are: have I expanded my knowledge sufficiently today? Have I sufficiently corrected, ordered, formed and harmonized my personality today? Have I done the right thing with all human beings with whom I came into contact?
These questions can help one with self-reflection, and if one does that in honesty, then instances of being arrogant or other undesirable bad habits during the day should become obvious and can be dealt with. For example, as part of one's meditation, one could visualize strategies that could help in managing similar situations in the future in better ways. And developing our love for the truth further will definitely bring good results. In closing, I would like to share this verse from the book Canon 32.
2414. Words are like leaves, however, actions are like fruits.
2414. Worte sind wie Blätter, Taten aber wie Früchte.
The main thing about studying the spiritual teaching, that is to say, the teaching of the creational energy, is that we endeavor to not just read it and talk about it and create lots of leaves that keep falling to the ground. Rather, we must put the teaching into practice, thus engage in self-reflection and work on strategies that will produce the fruit. Vibke Walder.